Hello friends, this is Mohit Khatri, and in this video we will learn about ASP.NET MVC Introduction, and also we will create one sample project using ASP.NET MVC. So let's start with ASP.NET MVC Introduction. So what is ASP.NET MVC? So we will divide it into two parts, the ASP.NET, and second is we will learn about MVC. So start with ASP.NET. So starting with ASP.NET is ASP stands for Active Server Pages. So here, as its name implies, it is the server side language. So what is server side language? So basically, if you see the online platforms, like any online platform, you can see like we have YouTube, Google, Facebook. So all these are very big online platform. But all these platform are basically consisting two languages. One is the server side language and another is a client side language. So here the ASP.NET which we are learning, that is the server side language, and there are few more server side languages which are most popular are Java, PHP, and then the one which basically which we are learning here, ASP.NET, and the second is the client side language. Under the client side language we have also very so many languages like basically Angular JS, the Angular, and also we have JavaScript, jQuery. So all these are the client side language. So now but our focus is to learn about ASP.NET, and this is server side language as we have basically just read about. And now basically we know ASP.NET, that's a basically server side language, and the technology which is using to basically work, that is a C# language. Okay. Now we learn about MVC. So before giving you introduction about the MVC, I want to tell you, so ASP.NET, the first framework was the web form, which was basically uh, started by the Microsoft. So in that web form there was some, you can say, limitation, or basically not so many advancement, like basically the code separation was not there. So basically it was not too much clean architect the people can use to create the big project. So for that reason Microsoft introduces another framework that is called the MVC. So under MVC, so we have very clean basically framework organized that can be used to create a big project, and then we can create the big project using the basically good architect. Okay, so now we learn about MVC. So MVC stands for model, view, and controller. So where models are basically our database classes, views are HTML which we have, and controller where we have all the logic of the application. So I can just give you some examples so that you get more idea about this model, view, and controller. Say for example, you have any website where you have the sign up form. So the sign up form which you can see directly in your browser, so that is basically the HTML part of it. So that we are keeping in the view side of the basically architect in the MVC. So the view contains all the HTML of the application. And the second is, say for example, in your project, in your sign up form, when you're filling it and you're clicking on the basically sign up button, so then actually all your form information is submitted to the controller. So in the controller we have all the logic of the application. Say like we need to save this form, or like we want to send some emails basically when we are getting that form submission from the HTML side. So that all logic comes to the controller side. And now third we have the model. So models are basically nothing. So these are the database classes, or we can also call them database tables. So when basically you are submitting any form from the front end to the controller, so from the controller we call the model. So using model basically we are connecting to the database. So these are basically our database classes or the tables, as I have told you. So using this we are connecting to the SQL database. So this is not the basically the target of this video, but at least just for the information. So these models, what it does, so these are basically used for the communication with the database. But in our next videos we will learn about how the model works and communicate with the database. So but just for us, for the information right now, so we need to know models are basically the database classes or the database tables which connect with to the Microsoft SQL Server database. So this is the basic introduction of the MVC. Now we'll get more idea as we start with working with the application. Okay, so as I've told, so after the basic introduction of the ASP.NET MVC, we will create one sample project using ASP.NET MVC. So for that, if you are the newcomer to the basically technology, and so that but first you need to know that for this you basically need one software that is called Visual Studio. Okay, so you can just go to the Google and search for Visual Studio download. So the very first link you will get it, just open it, and then you will here see there are three basically editions of it. One is a community, second is a professional, and third is a enterprise. So if you are basically you want to use it for your personal use, or even like if you want to use it for your personal website or basically or your blogs or anything, you can just go with the community. So just click on the free download button here, and then it will download one exe file in your system, in your Windows. Just open it and install it, and then as soon as you do complete all the steps, so you will be able to install the Visual Studio 2019 in your system. So once you are done, so you can simply come to search box and you can just open it, Visual Studio. In my system I have Visual Studio 2017, but in the latest most we have Visual Studio 2019. So just search for it and you can just open it. Okay, so once we have basically opened the project, open the Visual Studio, so now we can start creating our first sample project using ASP.NET MVC. To do that, as soon as you have opened the Visual Studio, you will see some toolbar here. So the very first option is the file. So just click on it, and you can click on the new and new project. So under the new project, go to the Visual C Sharp that is selected by default as well, and then go to the ASP.NET Web Application that is also selected by default. But if it is not already selected, you can just choose it. Okay, so go to the file, new project, and under new project go to C Sharp, Visual C Sharp, and here select the option of ASP.NET Web Application.NET Framework. So here you can see one more option of the web application, that is the ASP.NET Core Web Application. Okay, so in the beginning of the video I have told you, so ASP.NET has the web form in the beginning, and later they got MVC, so which we are learning here, and the next basically framework which they have already introduced in the market, that is the ASP.NET Core. But in this video we are not covering ASP.NET Core, but in our future video we will learn also about ASP.NET Core, and in that video I will give you all the introduction about the ASP.NET Core, and also will create the project using ASP.NET Core. But let's start with our this video where we are learning about ASP.NET MVC. So as we come here, ASP.NET Web Application, select it, and then you can basically give any name to your project. So you can give first MVC project, you can give any name to this, and also you can choose any location. So for example, you can go to drive E, you can create any folder, and you can just select it. Okay, so now our first project of name first MVC project will be created under this location, E drive tutorials folder. Okay, so now just click on OK. So here again you can see multiple options, but our target is to create ASP.NET MVC project, so we'll just keep this option as selected. And then also like here we have the other options, like we can choose web forms. As I've told you, this was already there. So if we want to create the web form project, but we are interested in MVC, so it is already selected. And also we will learn about web API also in the coming videos, so that is the option also here, but we will just go with the MVC as selection here. And then MVC is already selected, so we can just click on OK. As soon as you click on the OK, so Visual Studio will automatically create one ASP.NET MVC project for you. That is a sample project. Okay, so here you can see Microsoft Visual Studio already created one project for you, that is basically uh, keeping some sample data right now. So sample data mean that, like basically I will just tell you. So before that I want to show you something. In the beginning of the video we just discussed about that in the ASP.NET MVC there are three sections: the model, view, controller. So the same we can see here. We have the basically models, we have the view, and also we have the controllers. Okay, so now we are good. We have just created our first project, and then we can see actually the things which we have seen in the beginning of the video, that it, it contains basically in the MVC model, views, and controllers. So I just want to give you some introduction here. So by default, when we are getting one project created, so here in the controller we can see one controller is automatically created by the Visual Studio, that is called home controller. If we open this home controller, so it is basically one class which is inheriting the controller. So that's why it becomes the controller. That class becomes the controller. Okay, so otherwise this is a normal class. If I'm just deleting it, this is the normal class. But as soon as we basically inherit the controller from this class, so it becomes the controller. So in this controller, so by default there are three actions as well: index, about, and contact. Okay, so these actions are basically returning the views. So as I told you, the views are basically the HTML of the pages basically which we see in the front end. So here what is the behavior of the application? So whatever basically the action we have in the controller, so if they are returning the view, so the same view we need to create under the views folder. And the basically standard we need to follow is like this. So in the controller we have the home controller. So there will be one folder we need to create, that is automatically created right now. But in the future video, when we create our new controller and the new views, so you will get the more idea. But right now I just want to give you introduction about the current structure. So here we can see the one home controller is here. So the same view is also there, that is a home. We don't need the controller text here, because controller just needed here to basically tell the basically project that it is a controller. Okay, but in the views we just take the part basically apart from the controller name. So that is a home only. So under the views we have the one folder, that is a home, and all the basically action methods, so which are returning the views, so these must be created under the home folder in the views. So we have the index action, so we can see the index view as well in the home folder. Okay, we have the about action in the home controller, so we have the about HTML file, CS HTML file in the home folder. We have the contact action here in the home controller, so we also have the contact CS HTML file in the home. So I will give you more details in the future video about these CS HTML files, but just for this video the point of reference is, so with this home controller, all the action methods which are returning the views, so the same respective views we have in the views folder inside the home, which is matching the standard of the controller name. Okay, so this is the sample project which is by default created by the Visual Studio. So we just run it and see how it works. Before running the project I want to give you introduction about something more. So the thing is actually as soon as we click on this button, basically run the application. So how the application runs, so even I want to tell you guys, so this is the common intro question. So what is a page life cycle of the ASP.NET MVC? As soon as you are running your project, so the very first request come to the global.asax file. Okay, this is the application start file. So as soon as the application start, this function is called. So under this function there are many methods which are basically used. We will discuss about all this in details in the future videos, but for this video I want to tell you about the route at least, so that you get to know how basically route is configured. So there is a basically one function, that is the route config.register route. So just right click on it and go to definition of this. So here you can see in this route we have some default route. So what is the default route? Default route means when the application will run, where it will automatically go. So when we are running this application, it will automatically go to home controller and the index section. Okay, and as we have already seen, in the controller we have the home controller, so the application will go to home controller, and in the home controller we have three actions, and then by default application will go to index section. Okay, so here when we run the project, so the execution comes to home controller and the index section. So now if someone asks you what is the page lifecycle of the ASP.NET MVC, so you need to answer them when we are basically running the project. So the application basically go to the global.asx file. It basically called using the application start function, and here we have registered the route. So first of all, it read all the route which is defined here, and in the route whatever the default route we have set, it automatically go to that action method. So that action method is basically under home controller index action. So application will go to index action under the home controller. So now guys, if we run the project now, and we will see the things in action. So I've just clicked on it, and it will basically run our project. So our project in the localhost port 52988 is pointed. So now here you can see by default the application has opened the index section. So I can show you as well all this HTML where it is. So by default it is opening home controller index section. So as I've told you, it is returning the view. So what is this view? So in the views folder we have the home folder, the same name as the controller name, and we are returning this index action. So we must be having the index HTML file, CS HTML file, the same name of the action name. If we just open it, so we can see what we can see in the Chrome. So we have this ASP.NET. It's a free web framework, and get started, get more libraries. So all these HTML is already here. Okay guys, so there are so many things to learn here, like, because we have just seen we have just got the idea right now about the views and controller. Even we have not seen the model working, and there are more options like the content, fonts, scripts. But for this video I just want to give you guys the idea of creating one sample project using the ASP.NET. But in our next video we will definitely cover all the other options, and then we will keep learning about more about ASP.NET MVC. And if you have any questions guys, you can just please put in the comments, and then we will get back to you. Thank you. Thank you guys. See you in the next video.